All right, welcome back to Kivumbi 2017. It's now 16 minutes to 8 o'clock right here as we continue to look at matters security. We have 6 days to go before we get to the general election. A quick reintroduction of the guests that we have with me in studio. We have Vincent Kimosop, Joseph Simecha, and Daniel Juma, all political analysts. And of course, just before we went for the break, we were looking at the death of Chris Msando, which of course brings a lot of questions, more questions than answers. Earlier on, we did have the police spokesman, Charles Owino, in studio, basically giving us details of what they have so far and assuring Kenyans that we will have credible elections. But gentlemen, one of the things, and I think that's where we finished off with you, Joseph, is the question of justice vis-a-vis peace. We can talk about having peaceful elections, but it needs to be in a certain environment. It needs to be in an environment where people feel it is free, fair, and just. Let me start with you, Daniel, on the importance of ensuring, first of all, justice is done, even for somebody like Msando. Then moving on to the election, there needs to be clarity on how things are going to be done.
Exactly. I think it is appropriate that we give justice to the family and to Mr. Chris Msando himself. He has given his life so that we can have the credible and peaceful election that everyone is talking about. As I said earlier on, peaceful elections don't come in a vacuum. Credible elections, everybody must do their job. The police must do their job. And I'm sure even the police is doing his job. IEBC is doing their job. But within IEBC, as you know, the chairman and the commissioners, they are there, they provide leadership. But the people, the technocrats like Msando, are the ones putting their lives to ensure that we have credible elections. And when you talk about peace, we as Kenya Daima, people have accused us of preaching peace while we should be talking credibility. But, of course, I agree that all these, go hand in hand. As you talk about peace, you talk about credibility.
Is it a situation like the egg and the chicken?
Exactly.
Which comes first? Is it the peace or is it the justice?
Yeah, each of them come first. Because for you to have credible elections, you must have an atmosphere of peace. You know my point? So when there is, when there's chaos everywhere, people are fighting, and then you are not giving the chance to the institutions or the IEBC to provide credible elections. So what we are saying, the reason we call for peace is because for these things to work, the reason we had 207 was because our institutions were not working. But right now we have institutions. We need to give these institutions a chance. And the reason I like Chris Msando, he went out of his way to assure us, as Kenya Daima, that these elections will not be easy to rig. Then, as Kenyans, we need to build confidence in these institutions because Kenyans must believe that actually IEBC will deliver these elections. And that's why whenever we call for peace, I always say everyone should do their job. Let the technocrats do their job, let the politicians do their job, even peacemakers should just do their job so that we are not, confusing one another, attacking one another.
All right.
Yeah, let me speak about this concept of peace in relation to what we are saying. To me, peace is a secondary consequence of certain actions. That it is something that arises out of how we have behaved. It is like getting getting a state of satisfaction of the mind, that we are at peace with each other, as individuals, as people, and the environment we live in, and so on, is as a state of what we have done before that. So for me, peace is secondary. I have been one of the people who say, do not just preach peace, preach about us doing the things that create the environment that then leads us to have that state of satisfaction, that we are satisfied with each other, with the state of our being as colleagues, brothers and sisters, and with the environment as well. So, and one of those things is justice. It's just like I cannot tell you that please be satisfied in terms of food. Please be satisfied, feel satisfied. You must eat first.
There must be something.
There must be something for you to eat first,
right.
And then you have that feeling of satisfaction that your stomach is okay. So to preach about peace without, they are not mutually exclusive, with justice, accountability, and so on. The justice, accountability, and other democratic acts are acts that help the human beings to live together. They guide us in terms of the limit, our bounds, and so on. Because if we are left in a state of jungle, then we will cross certain boundaries that are so critical, and obviously we cannot talk about peace. So In my opinion, let us focus on justice. Let us focus, with regards to elections, let us focus, as my colleague here says, on everyone doing their job well. In fact, if everyone is going to do their job well, with the fidelity to our constitution, to our laws, to the rules of natural justice, you wouldn't even need to be singing that word peace.
Right.
It would come automatically that every one of us have done our job well. What is the result and consequence? A peaceful environment.
Vincent, do you feel like we are set up for a peaceful election, given what we have already?
I think, let me say this, from my interaction and observation, technically, IEBC is ready for the election, technically. The challenge has been the management of the political processes, because IEBC is not only a constitutional body, it is also a political body. It is the purveyor within which we get our leaders. So I have appealed to IEBC that they really need to up their game on managing the politics, and this really squarely rests on the chair Chebukati, to sit on the chair and sit on the chair family, because politics is about perception, whom do you talk to, what are you saying, which is different from the technical issues. From the discussion, you can see clearly the death of Msando, that something had been done, but at a technical level. No one is questioning, was everything okay? There is a level of satisfaction on the input he had done. Now, if that is backed up by strong political will, then we are able to transit. So in my view, I can say that we will have a credible election. Now, what we need is credible, free, fair, just, and then the outcome is a peaceful election. If we can, so that it will be good. If I'm competing with I have worked with Sime in the past in different programs. If I am competing with him, and he knows very well that we have gone into a process, and we have had, it's called what? Predictable processes for unpredictable outcomes. If it's very clear that the process is very predictable and I win, of course, let me say if I win or if he wins, it'll be great. I shake his hand. Kudos, give you support, move on. So for me, I'll say that we are ready for an election. The elections will be credible. The only challenge we have currently is the management of the political process. And that's why I recommended earlier before that, even just a political symbolism of all the political actors coming together and speaking jointly in a forum
in
that,
one voice.
Hey, on this issue, it will be important. And even Mike, if you'd allow me to say that, when every time a prominent person dies in this country, we see pictures of key leaders from the president or visiting the families, the widows. If they could extend that to this family of Msando, that way, that symbolic nature sends a message that, hey, on this issue...
Let me pause you, because I want us to look at what's happening in the country, and a cross-section of communities living in parts of Narok County have started leaving the county ahead of the general election. Narok County, which has been marked as a potential hotspot for alleged violence, has seen massive exodus for fear that the election might run chaotic. The exodus began with many of the residents jamming public service vehicles, termini, to make the trip up country. Many residents fear they could be evicted from the land they bought, while others decided to go back home to vote for their preferred leaders. Gentlemen, one of the things...
Punde kwa siku mbili tatu tumeona jamii wakihamahama kwenda sehemu mbalimbali. Ningependa tu kuwahimiza wasiende, wabaki huku wapige kura, manake hao ndio wataleta mabadiliko. Kura yao ndio muhimu, hao ndio kusema, na ningependa tu kuwahimiza kwamba hata pale ambaye wanaelekea vile kutakuwa na amani, na kama tu vile Narok iko.
Wenye wanahama sioni wakienda kupiga kura, juu kura wamekatia hapa. Na mimi nasema tafadhali wakae waache kuhama, juu wamehama kutoka last week na bado wanaendelea kuhama. Sasa mimi naomba waache kuhama. Juu naona watu wamehama karibu zaidi ya watu 200 hivi na bado wanaendelea kuhama.
All right, and just your closing comments as we wind up on the fact that could this be as a result of people fearing what happened in 2007 and not wanting to take chances? Or is it maybe they feel that generally we are not secure as a country?
Thank you. I think some of these may have been people who took their votes in the rural areas and they're traveling, I believe. But I would like to call upon Kenyans. Why are you going home? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of dying? If you cannot even vote, risk yourself to vote for your country at this time, then what kind of person are you?
But should it even be a risk to vote?
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be a risk. But what I'm trying to say is that look at some of the Kenyan patriots. We would never have gotten independence if independent fighters did not give their lives. Right now, we have lost Chris Msando. He put his life so that you can have credible elections. If you are running away and you don't want to vote, then what will you ever do for your country? So I want to encourage Kenyans. I don't foresee, I'm not a prophet of doom, but I see us having peaceful and credible elections. So remain in where you took your vote and vote. And after that, I am sure God will help deliver this country. I'm very, very hopeful.
Joseph, your closing comments and possibly your appeal to Kenyans as we only have 6 days to go.
Yeah, well, perhaps as my colleague says, maybe we shouldn't read too much into this. The adults in my family, my immediate family, including myself, are registered as voters in a constituency out of Nairobi. So when you see us trooping out of Nairobi, maybe by the weekend, don't think we are running away from. Actually, we will be running to go and vote. So I actually agree with what he's saying. Yeah. We shouldn't perhaps read too much into seeing people move around. There are those of us who have registered in rural constituencies, and we will go there to vote. And it's the holiday, take our kids to rural, to see their family in the rural place. I also am of the same, and have been consistently of this view. I am not scared that there'll be anything wrong with these elections. Well, there are people who have made a responsible statement. Sometimes, as Kimosop says, the chairman of IEBC especially has been extremely careless in his utterances, not managing the
I'll have to cut you
dynamics
short because I need to get his closing comments and we wind up.
But I think we will have peaceful elections.
All right, Vincent, very briefly.
We will have a peaceful election. All shall be well. I want to assure all Kenyans just that as the words in our national anthem that says, plenty be found within our borders. If we have justice being our shield and defender, then that plenty will include a peaceful, credible, and a just election.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Vincent Kimosop, Joseph Simeha, and Daniel Juma, political analysts, this morning looking at the state of security right here on Kivumbi 2017. For now, we'd like to say goodbye to our KTN home viewers for Life and Style to begin. Those of us on KTN News, we continue with Kivumbi 2017. We've got some international news coming up with Michelle Ngele right here as we continue. So those of us on KTN home, we say goodbye on KTN News. Kivumbi 2017 continues.